Hi everyone, it's Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 5, Hidden Clues. Warning, this will contain some spoilers, some clues, some hints, some foreshadowing, some symbolism. You name it, we will discuss it. And as always, your participation, your comments, your insight is greatly appreciated. I'd like to start by thanking all the people that showed up for the live stream last night after Talking Dead. That will be a regular occurrence, so each and every one of you is welcome to join. Thank you so much for your feedback. We appreciate that. So let's talk about some of the central themes that this week's episode had. So we're going to start out with new life. Now, we started out the scene with Maggie waking up. We see the blue flowers. We know that Jesus dropped off the flowers, and he actually told us the purpose of them is to have that calming effect. Maggie has a conversation with Dr. Carson, finds out the baby's okay, and as soon as she's able to walk, her and Sasha go over and visit the graves. And this was my first hidden clue. Hopefully you guys caught this. Both Maggie and Sasha, hands briefly over bellies. To me, this is foreshadowing that Sasha may be expecting as well, too. This is not the first time that we saw this. Remember the picnic scene? We actually saw Sasha in a maternity dress beside Abraham. We also saw baby Herschel. So I'm thinking that somewhere in the future, we could have a baby Sasha and a baby Herschel, or baby Abraham, I guess you could say. So let me know your thoughts below. In addition to visiting the graves, they actually honored the dead. In this particular scene here, we actually see Maggie's ring and Herschel's watch together. That was big speculation for a long time. Yes, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to show it to you once again. This was the scene over on the right that a lot of people thought that was either Maggie's ring. Some YouTubers even said it was Herschel's watch. We know that it's neither, because in the scene previous to that, we actually see both those together. Flowers were either shown or mentioned several times throughout this episode, and daisies usually is not something you want mentioned with your name, as it is symbolic of being dead. But Maggie was surrounded by daisies, and the yellow daisies is actually symbolic of leadership and large endeavors. So we know there are two grave sites there, and there are daisies in the background, but I think this was more for Maggie than the symbolism of Glenn and Abraham being dead. We know Maggie is going to take over Hilltop. There's going to be more on that later on this episode. Tricky Carl, I absolutely love this. And even on Talking Dead, they missed this because they kept saying Carl was missing the dartboard because of depth perception. That is absolutely incorrect. It had nothing to do with this, and I'm going to prove it right now. Carl was actually throwing the darts with his left hand, not his right hand. Why is that important? Because remember, Carl is not a southpaw. When Negan actually held him down and put the marker, he asked Carl, are you a southpaw? Are you left-handed? Carl is making an intentional effort to learn to use his left hand, because Carl's left eye is his only means of sight. Here's the Negan scene where he's holding him down. He got the marker from Simon, and luckily he did not cut off his left arm, because that's going to be his primary way to defend himself. As I mentioned earlier, when Carl was little, he always used his right hand. Here he is firing, I think, the Beretta early on, and go back and watch all throughout Carl's history. He's always used his right hand, but last week when he pulled the gun on Dirty Davy, which hand did he use? He used his left hand. So behind the scenes, Carl is starting to transition over to become that southpaw that Negan actually mentioned. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Let's talk about some of the cars in the episode. So in addition to artwork and flowers, there was also a car scene. Well, actually two car scenes. This particular one was very cool. Drive slowly. This is right after Carl ran into it. Oh, the irony. But that wasn't the only car that was the focal point of last night's episode. The Green Gremlin was voted one of the 50 worst cars of all time by Time Magazine. And if that wasn't a way to say F you by the saviors to the people up on Hilltop, they actually had another way to say it, and they had this gesture for the back of the car. So I definitely think that they got the point. Love to see your thoughts and comments if you guys caught that last night as well. The fight scene, there was really, really good martial arts, and also Sasha went ballistic. The full moon is said to cause demonic influences. This is an actual picture, a still from the set last night. So what better way to fight demonic influences than to have Jesus? Yes, there will be a lot of biblical references throughout this episode, because he's Jesus. The new leader, Hilltop. So while the fighting was going on, Maggie jumped up on top of the trailer, and you could see her pointing. It did not go unnoticed. Actually, it was noticed by Gregory, the current leader of the Hilltops. There were a lot of references throughout that, a subtle change of power. This scene was great as well, too, where Jesus actually suggested he could see someone else leading Hilltop, and he said, we'll talk about it a little bit later. On the topic of changing power, take a look at Simon. Simon is the new Vice Negan, as referred to. There were several things that were interesting about Simon. One, he was sitting down, almost looked like a throne, looking down on Gregory. And the scene where they talked about the picture was great as well, too. Shows Gregory has no appreciation for the material items he has. Simon does have the appreciation. So they're starting to block some things out. I hope you noticed this scene. Early on, Carl and Enid walking down the street, opposite sides of the street, completely disconnected all throughout this episode. You can see Enid here is actually in tears, literally in tears. Carl finds roller skates, and the whole time they're talking about not blocking things out, actually seeing it. And the one time that they just let their mind go in a different direction, they put on the skates, they become kids again, and you can see the joy that they kind of share. So I thought that was a real cool moment. And Abraham was not forgotten. We know this scene was very, very popular just from the sneak peek. Sasha smoking the cigar. Now, initially, she might have put the cigar on the grave, but they find out that they burned the dead there. So Sasha's probably going to smoke the cigar. Brings back visions of Abraham as well. You can see Abraham with a cigar, but also a nice little scene in the background with Enid. Notice the red lobster apron over the top of Enid, so maybe a subtle hint to Big Red as well, too. Gregory. I hate talking about Gregory, but he was a major part of this episode. So Gregory actually had to kneel to Simon, or the new Vice Negan, I guess. And once again, it's so easy to make a biblical parallel as Gregory is kneeling before a false god or a false idol while Jesus looks upon that. And Gregory is out of time. Gregory got slugged by Maggie, had the watch in his pocket. Maggie takes the watch away from him. So more symbolism that maybe Gregory's clock is ticking and he might not be with us very much longer. So a couple things I want to bring closure to. Dirty Davy once again had the balloons, and you can see why Enid made such a big deal about the balloons. It wasn't just to remember Glenn by, it was actually to go up to Hilltop to make a monument. Now, unfortunately, she put them on Abraham's grave instead of Glenn's, but it's the thought that counts. And also last week, we remember on the topic of Abraham, Negan opened the Orange Crush, took one swig of it, threw it over to the side, just easily discarded it like it was nothing. And in last night's episode, we actually saw Jesus take the scotch that's going to belong to Negan, take one swig of it, and then throw it out the back before he noticed that Carl was in the back of the truck as well. So thanks everyone for watching. These are a few of the clues, the hints, the foreshadowing, the symbolism, the irony that I stumbled upon. As always, looking forward to your comments, your thoughts, and throughout the week we'll probably discover even more. We'll have some update videos as well. My name is Killshot. Thanks for everything that you guys do, and once again, join us for the live streams later on in the week. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you all soon. Peace.